Hello everyone and welcome back to TowerGate. It is TowerGate Day 433, Thursday, May the 17th, 2018. Thank you so much for tuning in. Way too much news to get to just in one day, one video. Hopefully I can get it all in one video. I'm going to go very quickly, but it may take two anyway. So much news breaking out today. Major stories. Batten down the hatches. Well, I don't even know where to start first. We are hearing already now that the IG report draft is being sent or has been sent for principal review. The last refuge was right. He said about 3 weeks ago that that would happen on or about the 15th. That is when it would go for the review. What does this mean? Well, it means that the IG is going to send their draft over to the FBI and the DOJ, and I think the intel community as well, and they get to read through the whole draft. Now, at that point, if they find something they disagree with, they of course cannot remove anything from the IG report. It's coming out like it is. But what they can do is they can challenge something in the IG report, but in order to do that, they have to go back to the IG review board and provide actual evidence of what it is that they question. And if they provide the evidence, and it's reasonably good evidence, the IG will accommodate them by taking their evidence and their position into account, and he will provide in a footnote their dispute with some fact that he has made. So the review board it's not going to the review board. A lot of people say, "Uh-oh, that's where they'll take out a lot of stuff." No, nothing gets taken out. Once the draft goes over to the principal review at the FBI, DOJ, and intelligence agencies, they can question things, but they must be able to provide some hard evidence that what they're questioning is legitimate. And even if it is, the IG doesn't change what he's put down there. The only thing he does is makes a footnote to let you know that there is an alternative theory by one of these departments of the government, and they challenge that, and that can be left open for further investigation. So that is happening right now. It happened today or possibly last night. And so that means that probably within the next 5 days or so, this will be back into the IG's hands, at which point he will go ahead and approve for full release of the final of his report, which is called, he calls a preliminary report, which will then go back to the DOJ, and they will at that time, along with the executive branch, that will be the president, and then at that time they determine what redactions need to be made. That means the president, chief of staff, not the president himself, but his chief of staff, the DOJ, FBI, they will sit down, determine what redactions need to be made for the general public. The Congress will likely, particularly the members of Congress on the Intel Committee and people like that with the high clearances, they will likely get a nearly a much less redacted version. But ultimately, we are going to learn everything anyway. So that is the big news. Now, because of that big news, and because of what I assume the perps know now is going to be major damage control that they're going to have to be doing, we know that this IG report is going to be damaging because of the following. Because in the last day or so, we begin to see a series of leaks. And these leaks are little stories that have gone to the New York Times, the Washington Post, and BuzzFeed, as well as a comment that was made by Mark Warner on Sunday that tells us that they are now putting together their cover story for all the things that are going to be pointed out in the IG report that they did, which is all the things we've been talking about, all the thing that Nunes has been accusing them of. It's all going to come out in the report, and they know it. So what they've done is they've created a new cover story, which is going to seek to justify everything that they did that's going to come out in the IG report. And so they've created this, the most bombshell one that they've put out there. They leaked to the New York Times this morning. This likely came directly from Brennan Clapper Comey, put this together most likely, and they describe an operation they call Operation Hurricane Crossfire. And now they're telling us, based on this leaked story, that there was this operation called Operation Crossfire, which was basically everything we've been talking about. Strzok going to London, meeting with the Australian diplomat, getting this information. They come back, they got the dossier, they're putting it all together, they're going for Russian collusion. And so they're going to try to sell this entire thing. They're going to try to sell this entire thing is that they were just mistaken by a series of coincidences that they investigated, thinking they were really something there, when as it turns out there was only coincidences. They're going to try to play this entire thing off as basically saying, oh, we got duped. It's not going to fly, because as all the information comes out and as we dig deeper and as will be soon revealed to everybody, they manufactured everything that they're talking about. It wasn't coincidences. They manufactured everything. It's all going to come out. They know they're in trouble because the leaking has begun. The cover story is out. It is called Hurricane Crossfire. Everyone will be talking about it tomorrow, I expect, by Thursday and Friday and over the weekend. Operation Hurricane Crossfire is going to be all the rage, and they're going to be trying to sell it. I know you guys are too smart to buy it, but I've given you the heads up. You know what's coming. It's not going to work. So that is the two major things that's come out today. They know that the IG report's coming out. They know it's going to be damaging, and they have already begun releasing their cover story, which is going to fall on its face. And we should have been known that this was coming, because Mark Warner went on a Sunday morning news program and said that now that he looks at it, and now that all them people are looking at it, they've determined that maybe there wasn't really collusion, that maybe it was just a series of coincidences. And then boom, what happens today? We get this major leak to the New York Times about this Hurricane Crossfire operation, and now it seeks to have a cover story which tells us it is all a series of coincidences, and that this whole investigation was based on all this, but hey, maybe it was coincidences and really nothing there. This exposes a lot of things. The floodgates have opened. This is the final crack in the dam. The Russian narrative is deader than a doornail, and from this point forward, it's going the other direction. The momentum has totally changed, and now we begin the process of publicly unraveling it and bringing the perps to justice. Mark this date on your calendar. Mark this date. It will be a date that will live in infamy, at least with all of us. Then we have Paul Sperry, another bombshell article. I don't have time to go through the whole gist of the article, but I want to point out some of the things that we learned from this newest article by Paul Sperry. Two articles in a row. I'll be checking with him again tomorrow to see what he's got to say. Let's go through this. So he's focusing on the lies of John Brennan, and he basically, Paul Sperry essentially points out and nails Brennan to the wall. Mr. Potato Head is dead to rights. As Paul Sperry points out, Brennan's claim that the dossier was not part of the ICA in his congressional testimony is contradicted by two of his colleagues. This is the ICA is the Intelligence Community Assessment. It's that little letter that they put out, and then they all three went out in front of Congress and answered questions, is what we're talking about. So Brennan's insistence that the dossier was not part, because that's what he told him in Congress and in his ICA. Brennan's insistence that the dossier was not part of the ICA, the Official Intelligence Community Assessment on Russian interference in the 2016 election, is contradicted by two former officials. Mike Rogers, recently retired director of the NSA, stated in a classified letter to Congress that the Steele memos did factor into the ICA. Clapper, the DNI, also stated on CNN that the assessment was based on somewhat on the content of the dossier, and the ICA was limited to just 3 agencies and did not go through the normal process reviews. So they put this ICA out in haste. Brennan makes the claim that the dossier was not a part of the ICA, but Rogers and Clapper contradict what Brennan says. Clearly. We learned from this article by Paul Sperry that John Brennan selected the CIA and the FBI analyst who worked on that ICA, which included Peters Ben Strokenus. Stroke was the intermediary between Brennan and Comey and was one of the authors of the ICA. Brennan claims he did not see or read the dossier or Steele memo until late December 2016. This is impossible to believe based on all the evidence. It's impossible. A bald-faced lie by Mr. Potato Head, and easily proven. Brennan put some of the dossier material into Obama's presidential daily briefing. And we know that from Susan Rice and also from, what's her name? Evelyn Farkas. Yes, from those two, we know that Brennan must be lying here because we know that some of the dossier material was into the presidential daily briefing, which we now know was expanded out to 30 different bureau heads in the Obama administration. Something that's never been done before. Clapper has also been proven to have been dishonest about leaking material from the ICA. The House Intel Committee has narrowed down the source of the leaks as coming from the Intel community. So, when they came out with that intelligence community assessment, and they wrote it out, and they sat there in front of Congress, they were all three lying. The ICA was a lie. It was a cover. It wasn't true. At the time, I guess they thought it would fly. But now in retrospect, with all the evidence we have, we know that Brennan and the people that Brennan personally selected put that ICA together is really just like they did with the FISA warrant. They put together faulty evidence to get the FISA warrant. Well, they put together faulty evidence to try to sell this ICA. But now that we're many months down the road, this happened a long time ago, and now just about everything that we see from the ICA, when you go back and look at it now, and you go back and look at the comments those three have made, Brennan, Comey, and Clapper, you can see that they were clearly lying, and the ICA was clearly just another piece of propaganda, and essentially they're just lying to the Congress. I mean, Congress should be quite upset about that ICA now that they know it was just another piece of lying propaganda. And really part of a cover-up more than anything they were trying to do criminally. Remember, just about everything that's happened since Trump was elected has all been part of a cover-up. Yeah, the coup continues, but the cover-up is what is the main issue here. Because they know that once Trump was elected, they had to cover it up. They couldn't just leave it lay there and walk away. It would be discovered. So much of everything that we're seeing here and talking about in the last year has all been more about the cover-up of the crimes they committed. They can't go back and undo the crimes, so they can only try to cover them up by confiscating or confusing things, muddying up the water, putting out propaganda, trying to blur the picture. This is all what they're doing, and a whole lot of trying to go back and cover their tracks by doing things that would justify what they did back then. It's not going to work. Joe DeGeneva and Sidney Powell were on Laura Ingraham, and they laid out for her. It was beautiful. They laid out for her for the first time. I've seen really somebody go on to one of the mainstream channels, particularly in this case cable channel, and lay out exactly what is in the 99-page FISA court document. Sidney Powell laid it out. And Laura Ingraham, she looked like she saw a ghost. We've been talking about this since August of last year. Ingraham is just now finding out about it. Hannity will soon find out about it. Other people have been wondering and waiting when they were going to figure it out. It's been out there for a long time. But Sidney Powell and Joe DeGeneva laid it out for Laura Ingraham and said, hey, back as early as 2015, the FBI was providing access to the NSA database. They were doing 702 queries illegally, unlawfully, unconstitutionally. And the FISA court judge had to shut it down, along with Rogers. And they wrote and she did an investigation, wrote a report. And you can read all about it. And Laura Ingram's like, huh? So, again, these things are all coming to light. Well done, Sidney Powell and Joe DeGeneva. And Laura Ingram now knows all about it. And pretty soon, the rest of them will. I was laughing out loud watching that. Now, Meadows, Jordan, and DeSantis wrote a letter to Trump asking him to force the DOJ to come off all requested materials. So they're finally getting fed up. They're tired of being stonewalled, and they're taking it directly to the president. Of course, it was through a letter, which means he may or may not read it. John Kelly will see it. John Kelly sees everything before Trump sees it. And John Kelly gets to decide what Trump gets to see and what he doesn't get to see. If he thinks he wants Trump to see this letter, he'll see it. If he doesn't, he'll toss it in the trash. So Meadows, Jordan, and DeSantis wrote the letter to Trump asking him to force the DOJ to come off all the redacted requested materials. And of course, I guess if Trump doesn't get the letter from his chief of staff, he'll probably hear about it watching Fox and Friends, his favorite show. So, we also learn in another story, again, any one of these stories could be major headline news. I could spend a half an hour digging into them. I'm just, unfortunately, having to go through there and give you the headlines. And any of these stories you're really interested in, you have to dig into them yourself until I can get back to you and see which one to dig into first. Obviously, I'll be spending almost all day tomorrow digging into this Hurricane Crossfire leaked story, because that is the next major thing to happen. So I'll be digging into that probably as much as I can tonight and tomorrow. That's really where the story's going next. But some of these other stories are stories you may have an interest in. The Rotten Reverend Clinton. We are now learning that she funneled $150,000 to her own personal company. According to FEC filings, it looks very fishy, according to the former FEC chairman. This will possibly lead to another investigation into the Rotten Reverend Clinton. Now, of course, the Rotten Reverend Clinton, after doing a trash the President of the United States on foreign soil in India tour, she is now trashing the President of the United States in Australia, which is something that you generally don't do. But again, the Rotten Reverend has no class. None whatsoever. Another thing that's funny is she's now wearing some kind of a big back brace, which is clearly obvious. You can see the back brace. You can see, it's very, straight, and it sticks up above her shoulder blade. So after it was pointed out in the media by a few people that she had this back brace, she started wearing this gaudy-looking big scarf. So now she's wearing this big scarf, hoping that will hide this back brace, but you can still see it. You can still see it, even with the scarf on there. So the woman is literally becoming a joke. She's becoming a joke. She needs to pack it in and go away, but she can't. She won't. She's making a fool of herself. And the longer she's out there, the lower her approval numbers go. I mean, I've never seen anything quite like it in my lifetime. She will never, ever get over losing to Trump. Never. It literally, man, you talk about Trump derangement syndrome. She's at like stage 19 or something. She'll probably end up having to be committed at some point. She will literally just go batshit crazy. Back brace and all, colostomy bag, back brace, the whole 9 yards. The Rotten Reverend. Trump took her, he not only took her down, he destroyed her. He destroyed her psyche, her mind, everything. Her life, what's left of it. Unbelievable. The Rotten Reverend Clinton. Of course, we had the Senate committee come out and release their findings that, well, we found that Russia did try to help Trump. Yes, that is Burr and Warner. Burr and Warner. My friends, the Senate Intelligence Committee is so deep state, it's not even funny. It's not even funny. They are maybe the worst of all the congressional committees that you can find. You will not find a more deep state committee than the Senate Intelligence Committee. That's their business right there, is taking care of the business of the deep state, covering up their crimes. That's what they do on the Senate Intel Committee. So they put out their finding today, and it focused mostly on the Trump Tower meeting. with Don Jr. and Vessel Niskaya and the whole 9 yards, which was clearly a setup. They never even slightly even go there. They don't even consider the possibility, but they do admit that there's no smoking gun in the TowerGate, but that it looks fishy. Yeah, it looks fishy, all right. It's an obvious setup. You know, I mean, a first day rookie at the police academy could sniff this one out. It's not hard. It was really done in a very, very sophomoric way. I mean, it was not done very well at all. I mean, it's not good. We sniffed that one out here a week after the TowerGate. The week after that, after looking at that for a week and studying it for a week and talking about it for a week and seeing everything, once we got all the information, we knew it was a setup. And then once we saw the initial email that was sent to Don Jr., it was obvious that it was a setup. Read the initial email from Mr. Aglarov to Don Jr. And that's all you got to do. Read it, and from there you'd have to go, wait a minute, this is like, again, this is why, as I said yesterday, this entire story could never pass itself off as a serious spy thriller. It could only be a spoof, a comedy, based on stuff like that. And the entire thing is a comedy of stupidity, of ignorance, of incompetence. It's just unbelievable that they were able to sell this as long as they have. Only with the help of the media. Had the media told the truth from the very beginning, no one would have bought it. But only with the help of the media. And they will be culprits in this as well. Believe me, their reputations will be destroyed. They already are. But believe me, once this whole thing has flushed itself out, the media is going to have looked so bad, having gotten this so wrong for so long, that I don't know that any of their reputations are going to survive. You may see Jake Crapper. You'll order up a pizza. You'll go to the door, and it may be Jake Crapper delivering your pizza to you. Rachel Maddow taking your order at the McDonald's drive-thru window. That's where we're headed. Now, we have more information on how Papadopoulos wormed his way onto the Trump team. Question we've been asking: how did he get there? Well, you ready for this? Papadopoulos landed a job at the International Energy Center at the London Center of International Law Practice. Papadopoulos had only had the job for a couple weeks before he was brought into the scheme. Not sure how he landed this position yet, but I'm sure we'll find out. The job was a title-only type job. There was no actual duties that he performed. In fact, this company, as we're about to find out, is not even legit. It was likely set up by Mr. Halper, only for the purpose of recruiting. Pops. Mifsud, who is also on the list of 33 people affiliated with the London Center of International International Law Practice. On their web page, it shows 33 people belong to this organization, but the page was deleted 1 week before Papadopoulos' plea agreement was unsealed. They didn't want us to know Papadopoulos worked there. Fortunately, someone had a screen capture before they removed it. A personal visit to the office at the London Center of International Law Practice revealed a small office with only 4 people working there. Mifsud vanished in early November 2017 after the Papadopoulos story broke. No one's heard from him since. Papadopoulos and Mifsud was likely British intelligence, met there 4 times. They met there 4 times. Let's go through these meetings. In late February, early March 2016, Papadopoulos lands his prestigious sounding job that immediately pads his resume. Early March, Papadopoulos learns he will become a foreign policy advisor to the Trump campaign. March 14, 2016, Papadopoulos first meets Mifsud in Italy, 1 week after joining the Trump team. March 24th, 2016, just 10 days later, Papadopoulos, Misfit, Olga Polonskaya, and an unknown fourth party meet in a London cafe. April 18th, 2016, Misfit introduces Papadopoulos to Ivan Timoviv, an official at the state-sponsored think tank called Russian International Affairs Council. April 26, 2018, Misfit claims to have met with high-level Russian government sources who claims to have dirt on the rotten Reverend Clinton in the form of emails. May 5th, 2016, Papadopoulos gives the interview to the London Times, which was not well received because it rips David Cameron and suggests that he should apologize to Trump. Then on May 10th, 2016, Papadopoulos meets with Downer, and Downer initiated the meeting. Then, in late May of 2016, Stefan Halper invites Carter Page to the July 2016 symposium regarding the 2016 election in Cambridge. July 11th, 2016, Carter Page attends a symposium with Halper just 4 days after Page's trip to Moscow. July 31st, 2016, the FBI opens their counter-intel operation. Very nicely done. Well done. August the 2nd, 2016, Peter's been stroking us, travels to London to meet an unknown party at the Australian Embassy. Now, Kevin King, one of our commentators, one of my subs, left a link you can look at, and I believe it's part of the Andrew McCarthy story that McCarthy looked at, where it reveals that Peter's been stroking us did not go alone. It appears, thank you very much, Kevin, that from this link, we learn that Lisa Page appears to have accompanied Peter's been stroking us on that trip to London, as well as someone named John and his probably lover from the DOJ, his personal lawyer, secretary, whatever you want to call it. So it appears at least that foursome went to London, and they went to the Australian Embassy, where they likely met with Alexander Down the Hatch Downer. September 13th, 2016, Papadopoulos accepts meeting with Halper. Halper tells Papadopoulos, quote, "You know about hacking the emails from Russia, right?" Unquote. And there you have it. The entire series of events which led to that part of the plot, which was the reason they were able to get the FISA warrants, the extended FISA warrants, the fake ICA, and everything else, almost completely based on this series of events with these key individuals on these dates. You can see it's incredible how these dates fall out. They're so close together. You know, they're literally a week to 10 days, maybe 2 weeks between each of these events. Just they fell like dominoes. You put Papadopoulos into this position where it gives him cred. You're able to use that cred to get him into the Trump campaign. You get him in the Trump campaign, then you hook him up in meetings with these Russians. At the same time, you're working Carter Page. You get him too. They tried to get Manafort and Gates. They declined. But they go ahead and keep working on Papadopoulos. And eventually, these meetings happen. Then, of course, they probably threw together that Trump Tower meeting to try to build, because other things that they had didn't pan out. So they tried to throw that in the mix. It was poorly done. And we can see that. And so you can see this whole series of events, exactly what was done. This was a classic frame up, and it's going to become blatantly obvious once all these monkeys are poured out of the barrel. A couple other stories we'll hit real quick. North Korea balking. Well, officially, apparently they're upset about the war games that are going on with South Korea, military exercises, what do you want to call them? Well, North Korea knew all about that. They were told that those things would continue. They haven't, as far as Heather Nauert is concerned, the State Department spokesperson, says that they have not received any official communications from North Korea suggesting that they're going to cancel the meeting because of these exercises. But it's being floated out there in the press. But again, I've always said, North Korea, you got to be careful when you're dealing with these people. I mean, this is exactly the type of things that they will do. My guess is there's probably some truth to it, but they're probably just jockeying for a better negotiating position to see what they can get. I don't think it's going to work. I don't think Trump's going to budge an inch. He's already gotten a lot. Why would he budge? I mean, they've already gone to the DMZ, shook hands and crossed the DMZ and talked about what they're going to do together. I mean, Kim's already somewhat committed to that. They've already blown up, or are planning on blowing up. If they didn't accidentally blow it up, they're going to blow it up on purpose. Their testing place, the radiation was so high from that last test when they blew it up that it probably scared the hell out of them. They probably got three-eyed fish swimming around in the ponds over there. Maybe Kim Jong-un's grandkids got third eyes popping out of the back of their head. Who knows? So it might be a negotiation tactic. Who knows? We'll see where that goes. Here's another question a lot of people are asking. Has Mueller, Uncle Bob, the special executioner, given the dishonorable James Comey immunity? That's a good question. A lot of people have been talking about that for a couple days. And if he's given him immunity, who else did he give immunity to? Can he even give immunity? That's a problem if he did. A lot of people are going to be absolutely furious if they find out that Comey's been given immunity. But it's really the only explanation for why he would go out there, write a book, and then go out and do speeches and talks and go on TV and completely contradict himself over and over again. Any attorney worth his salt would have told Comey to shut up and go silent. But he doesn't. He continues to go out and talk and dig deeper holes. He must feel that he has some reason that he cannot be held accountable. And so a lot of people are thinking this guy must have immunity. So now everybody's asking, did Mueller grant Comey immunity? If he did, there's going to be a lot of heat, man. A lot of heat on Mueller for that. He should be gone anyway. And I had a comment and a link left by Sherman Lynn regarding Q, talking about the fact that Q was saying that there was a closed-door meeting on Wednesday morning with the NSA squaring off against the CIA, and that Admiral Rogers did testify. This is true from Q. Of course, this was reported by The Last Refuge and a few other people, so we know this is true. Yes, this morning they did have a secret little meeting that involved the CIA and the NSA. We don't sure exactly what they were talking about, but we know Admiral Rogers was there and he did testify, and it's hard to say exactly what's going on there. I assume this was the Senate Intel Committee, and maybe they were just giving these guys a chance to get together so they can all put their story together because they know what is coming soon. And a lot of these guys in the Senate Intel community, Republican and Democrat, are up to their eyeballs in this, as is Senator Magoo. He might die before he gets held accountable. But truth will come out. And maybe long after he's achieved room temperature, we'll get the truth. Also, on the Russian troll story, we have more information on that. Apparently, this Russian company, Concord Management, their attorneys are now saying that Mueller's team is going to drop 2 terabytes of data on the court, most of it in Russian and never even translated. 2 terabytes is equal to 1,500 CD-ROMs. In other words, a ton. The case resumes on June the 15th. Okay, this is funny. It's a delay tactic, and it means that they've got nothing. But it's also just going to buy him some time. So what Mueller's response is, in this particular case where he knows he's screwed and screwed up big time, is they're going to drop 2 terabytes of data. A lot of it, most of it, is stuff that they picked up on Russia, and it's mostly in Russian, to force the lawyers for this company to have their people to read through 2 terabytes worth of data before they can even begin to put together their case together. I don't think it's going to fly. I think the judge is going to see this for exactly what it is and blow the whistle on this whole damn thing. It's a comedy of errors. It's ridiculous. I think the judge is not going to be amused by that. Well, my friends, I've got to get busy working on this Hurricane Crossfire for tomorrow's video. You have a lot of things to chew on. I'll be back tomorrow. Thanks for tuning in. See ya. Bye.